The reasons why many conscious Black people are moving to Ghana in their numbers coming up. Hi, my name is Koriwa. Thanks for stopping by. If you are new to the Ghana Biz Girl channel, welcome. I talk about moving to and living in Ghana. Kindly subscribe to the channel if this is of interest to you and hit the like button if you like this video. Let's go. So, my grade 1 daughter returned home from school one day and asked me, "Mommy, do you know the story about the Aboriginal people of Australia?" And I said, "Everybody has many different stories. So, which story exactly are you talking about?" And she said, "Well, my teacher told us a story about the Aboriginal people of Australia and the fight they had with the British people a long time ago." I said, "Really? The Aboriginal people had a fight with the British people? What did your teacher say?" And my daughter said, "A long time ago, the British people had a lot of bad people in their country, and their jails were full. So one of them set out to find a new land where they could put their bad people. And he found a land and called it Australia. But there were Aboriginal people who already lived on the land. And the problem was that they didn't speak English." And I said, "Hold it right there, young lady. How is not speaking English a problem? The people lived in their land and they spoke their language. I don't see a problem there." She said, "Well, Mom, because they couldn't speak the English and they spoke a different language, the British people couldn't understand them." I said, "Okay, just carry on with your story." So she continued. "The Aboriginal people were trying to welcome the British. But because the Aboriginal language was different, the British couldn't understand a word the Aboriginal people were saying, and so they got into a fight and a lot of Aboriginal people died." I said, "Really? Is that what your teacher had said happened?" She said, "Yes. But Mom, it's okay. They later found out the Aboriginal people were trying to welcome the British." Now, to say that I was angry, to say that I was pissed will be an understatement. Why? Because if you know about the history of the Aboriginal people of Australia and how they were massacred, executed, mass murdered, then you have no choice than to find this watered down version of the story, which is being fed to young children in Australian classrooms today. You have no choice but to find it offensive and wrong. It is a whitewashed story and it is a form of brainwashing. To say that, one, there was a problem with the Aboriginal people's language is to suggest that it was inferior to the English language. And two, to trivialize the mass murder of the Aboriginal people by saying that it was a communication error. Hey, we killed millions of people, but it wasn't our fault. Let's just blame it on the Aboriginal language. That's just wrong. This is a clear example of systematic whitewashing of a people's history and brainwashing of young minds. Now, does this sound familiar? Does this ring a bell? I'm sure you already know where I'm going with this, but just hold on a second. Think about it for a minute. This is part of the Australian school curriculum, and it is being taught to young children in grade 1 at age 6 or 7, where kids believe anything their teachers feed them, sometimes even over what their own parents would say, right? At that age, they are thinking, if my teacher said it, then it must be true. Take two kids sitting in that grade 1 classroom. One a white Australian and another an Aboriginal Australian. The message that the white Australian kid is getting from this version of the story is that, okay, the problem was with the Aboriginal language. The British didn't do anything wrong, right? What does that do? It gives him a sense of his language, the English language, being better than that of the Aboriginal language. And in essence, he feels a sense of white supremacy. The Aboriginal Australian kid, on the other hand, is going to feel inferior, thinking, oh, my ancestors were killed because they spoke the Aboriginal language and not a word of English. Boy, aren't I lucky that I can speak English today? What is she learning? Or better still, what is she being taught? She's being taught to see her culture, her heritage as being less than. And also, it's being taught to feel lucky that she can speak English. In essence, she's being taught to see herself as inferior. And this is just in grade 1. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because it is the same whitewashing and brainwashing that has been done to black people all over the world. Black people of African descent have been taught by the system, by actions, by the powers that be, through the Western education and by the media and all other means to feel inferior, to feel less than. The African history has been whitewashed, and most black people of African descent have been made to feel or be seen as being inferior. Not only that, they have gone a step further to paint such a bleak picture of present day Africa, a picture of despair, a picture of disease riddled people, a picture of poverty, a picture of strife and conflict. And in doing so, they have taught black people all over the world that they have nowhere to go. And in essence, taught black people living in the West to feel lucky to be living in the West, to feel blessed because they've been rescued by the West. They should feel saved by a white superior people from the jaws of death that is Africa. They have taught black people to feel lucky to be living in the West, and sadly, for years, most black people have had to endure all the oppression, all the disrespect, all the atrocities being done against them in the West, the killing of black males on the streets of America, and mass incarceration of black people in American jails. They have endured all that because they thought there was no alternative, because they felt that they have nowhere better to go. Surely this way of life is better than living in a disease-riddled Africa, right? And the West has achieved this brainwashing mainly through their big Western media outlets, the CNNs and the BBCs. And for years, they have succeeded in continuing on with the whitewashing and the brainwashing. The few Marcus Garveys and the Malcolm X's and the Maya Angelos tried to tell the correct story of Africa, the opportunities and realities. But even though they achieved a lot, still, it was not enough. But then, a new dawn started rising, and a new type of media was born. Its mother was the internet, and its name is social media. And even though it is still not media owned by the people, it is media told by the people. And it gives the opportunity for African people to begin to control their narratives, control their story, tell the true story, showcase the right version of the story. You see, with the growth of social media, that old worn out, whitewashed African story, that false wall of deception, the story of disease and starvation, is being broken down one piece at a time. It's being broken down brick by brick. The children of Africa are now able to showcase its good sides one YouTube story at a time, one Facebook post at a time, and one Instagram post at a time. And slowly but surely, black people around the world are beginning to find that there is a place for them called home. They are beginning to find they do have a place to go, somewhere they can be themselves, somewhere they can thrive, somewhere they don't have to feel inferior, feel they have to watch over their shoulders every minute, feel they belong. Sure, Ghana has its challenges, but which country doesn't? In the words of Lakeisha Ford, a young lady who relocated to Ghana 5 years ago to start a new life, when interviewed recently by BBC, she said, and I quote, "To me, there is no such thing as a black woman in Ghana. I am a woman in Ghana. We are all black. I don't see color here because I am part of the majority, and I think it is a privilege and a luxury. Living in Ghana is not just an alternative, but it is a real option to live your life and be successful." That right there is the awakening, the consciousness, the fire that has only just been sparked and has started to spread. So the question of why black people are moving to Ghana in their numbers, the answer is simple. Black people are waking up today to find that they've been lied to, that the story of Africa has been whitewashed and they have been brainwashed. As some brave black people have set out on various journeys of discovery on the African continent, and as they continue to document their journeys on social media, more people are learning, are rediscovering, and are waking up to opportunities. They are seeing Ghana and Africa as a place they can be free, both financial and mental freedom, a place they get to feel human. They are beginning to see that the comforts that they have been brainwashed to think is the ultimate way of living, the comforts of the West, are all junk and meaningless if they don't experience true joy, happiness, and inner peace. Akon was right when he said the USA is just a big brand name, nothing more, nothing less. They have branded themselves to be the land of the free, and for the most part, everybody has believed the hype. But slowly, the wool covering the eyes of many black people is beginning to clear. Ghana has its challenges, same as US has its. But for any black person, the challenges in Ghana are nothing compared to the life and death challenges faced in the West. It is very heartwarming for me to see the many brave people who are taking a leap of faith to relocate to Ghana. But it is also of some concern that some are succeeding whilst others are not. In my opinion, it's not because Ghana is flawed, but success in Ghana for most black people who have lived in the West and wishing to settle in Ghana, regardless of whether you are indigenous to Ghana or not, requires some planning and thorough preparation. You see, all these big proclamations of year of return, let's go home, they are all good, but they don't usually come with a manual, a guide that teaches people how to successfully move and thrive in Ghana. I get asked here on YouTube almost every day about how to relocate and settle in Ghana. And so I decided to put together a program for people wishing to relocate to Ghana called the Move to Ghana Survive and Thrive program. This program walks through how to effectively prepare and execute a move to Ghana, which ensures a greater chance of succeeding in Ghana. I've put the link to the Move to Ghana Survive and Thrive program in the description box below, and I highly recommend you check it out if you're a Ghanaian living overseas or a person of African descent that has plans to move to Ghana now or even in the distant future. The awakening of the conscious black people has just begun, and the movement of black people to the continent is only going to get bigger. Let me know in the comment section why you think it is time to move to Ghana or anywhere else on the African continent, and if you have already made the move, kindly share your experience in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to hit the like button on this video. I really appreciate it as it helps the channel to grow, and I'll see you in the next video.